Hey everybody, welcome to Experience This. This is season 3, show number 10, I think. And I'm riding solo today. Christian and Lori are at a conference and I think on airplanes at this point heading home. But we've got Mary Decker with us. He's the founder and CEO of Tour Amigo. And I'm super excited to chat with Mary. We first met about 2021. During the famous COVID days when we were doing online events, and we did a major online event on multi-day tours, and it was super successful. Arival also did a lot of research on multi-day, all focused on technology and distribution, which really not a lot of people focused on at that point and still don't focus on. So let me introduce Mary, and we're going to dive right into multi-day tour technology, distribution, and all other fun things. Hey, Mary, how's it going?
Good, thanks, Bruce. How are you?
I'm doing okay, but probably not as good as you are. Where are you at these days?
I'm fortunate enough to be in Greece and Santorini at the moment. So, yeah, it's the advantages of remote work, right?
So I was going to say holiday or being a digital native, or what are you up to?
Yeah, being a digital native. So I always come through here when we have different events on. So it's a place I used to work and run a lot of the bus abouts and Kentucky sort of trips back in the day. So it's sort of a second home for me.
It's amazing how many people in our industry worked at a place like Kentucky as a tour guide. I ran a ski travel company. I mean, everyone has their stories of how they got into our industry, and usually starting at that ground floor and moving up. So you own a travel tech company focused on multi-day. Let me start with this, because most of our audience focuses on what we call destination experiences, single day tours, activities, attractions. From a tech side, reservation technology, ticketing tech, how do you look at the differences between a single day tour and a multi-day tour?
So the multi-day tour has a lot more complexities behind it. So it actually is comprised of activities and single day tours that make up the 7-day tour, but there's obviously accommodation, the availability, the dynamic pricing and availability of accommodations, which becomes quite complex. But they also go a bit further in terms of the structure of these multi-day tours. You could have 2 or 3 different packages within the one package. So if it's a 20-day trip, you could actually have 2 multi-day trips within that 20-day package. And so there is a lot of differences in terms of the setup, in terms of the customer behavior, the customer lead, how far out they're booking the trips as well. And also obviously the price is a significant difference.
Yeah, so I think our data in 2021 said there were about one question is, you close your eyes like you don't believe that number. So
I think I froze for a little bit there. What was the number that you just said?
10,000 multi-day operators. That was the 2021 number that our research at Arival came up with. We're in the midst of doing additional research now to see if that's still relevant. Probably have a good idea.
I've actually done a recent bottoms-up report on consumer behavior in multi-day, but also the record of how big the industry is. And what I've actually found online, and I've got different sources, is, and I was shocked by this, but they reported 57,000 multi-day tour operators out there. Because once you start factoring in DMCs, other areas such as Asia, South America, the emerging markets, and you also look at, defining what is a multi-day. And we define it as just a complex itinerary. Anything that's over 2 days in duration could be guided, could be self-guided, could be on rail, it could be on bike, it could be on foot, it could be on coach, it could be on water, like river or ocean. There's a lot of categories. And then you go into private groups. You can have educational travel, religious travel. So all of those are packages that are over multiple days.
So back to the core definition, because that's something as we do our current research, and you talk about all the different segments within multi-day. Core definition, one night stay?
That's generally speaking, yeah. One night stay, so it's 2 days or plus, or 1 night stay.
As a minimum.
And
that's a
as
minimum.
a minimum. Yeah.
Yeah.
And generally you're moving to destinations, that's where it would differ from a hotel stay for 3 nights and it's an all-inclusive package. This is where you're actually out experiencing and mobile and visiting different either destinations, cities or countries in the one trip. I think is a key differentiator from what would be a set package.
And staying in, I'm in Tuscany and I'm staying in a villa, but every day I go out, for a bike tour ride in different places. I might define that as a multi-day tour. If there's an operator who's given me an itinerary and told me where to go and eat, et cetera, on each ride, versus we're not talking about like a beach vacation, a 2-week type, get on the plane, go to a beach and hang out for a week and an all-inclusive. That's not what we would define as a multi-day tour. But what about my villa in Tuscany? Would that be defined as multi-day?
Yeah, I think there's a good overlap there that you could define that as a multi-day. If it's been put together and, you could still have the same base, but then be going out and experiencing different things each day and different activities, then I would put that into the multi-day tour category.
Do you have a villa in Tuscany for me that I can?
Hopefully soon.
Yeah. Okay. So when you look at the tech you were talking about, and when you go out there and you're pitching to clients, first of all, you have a report that says there's 50,000+ multi-day operators. Can you send me that report, please?
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to see that as we start working on our research. That would be a great resource for us to have. So please, when we're done here, email that over to me. And if it looks great, if it's okay, it's public information. I can post it to our show notes. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. All right. Make sure you do that. What I was going to say is, as you go out and you're pitching, Tour Amigo in the industry, I'm going to guess that your number one competitor is proprietary software. Would that be correct?
Yeah, there's very few companies out there that specialize in multi-day tours, like the technology for multi-day tours. And majority of them would either be, there's one angle of building it in-house and developing it in-house from either internal developers, and then the majority of the companies out there are custom built, external developers that are custom building a solution, but they specialize in multi-day. So this is why we did a very strategic focus on being a SaaS. And that doesn't mean just a cloud-based sign-on to be a SaaS. It means that it's one system that is operating for multiple different companies. And I think the hesitation initially in the industry, maybe a couple of years ago, was that everyone's back-end systems or everyone's company is different. Now, they are in terms of what they're delivering. They have a unique offering. They have a unique delivery of their product, unique destinations they go to. But if you go into the back end and the operations of running a multi-day trip, in essence, it's all very similar. They might call things differently. They might have different processes, but the overall structure is the same or pretty close to the same. And we've been able to prove all of this with the number of customers that we've got from varying different industries that can all use the one system.
Yeah, for sure. And when we started Arival in 2017, SaaS was really starting to explode into that industry and power the industry up from where it was just a few years earlier, where people were on proprietary, even more people were on spreadsheets and pen and paper. And then all of a sudden the SaaS players came out, starting in the US and then also pretty quickly in Europe. And there's probably 15 or 20 major players now that are all on SaaS. There's a couple that are still more custom. They tend to be more enterprise, right? Are your clients more SMEs or enterprise?
We started off as SMEs, but we are now more enterprise. We do both. That's the unique differentiation for us, is that we can have a mum and pop operations that's 1 to 5 people. The sweet spot for us is 10 to 20 employees in the company, and that's what we'd be calling an SME. However, we can do up to enterprise where they got 50, 100, 150 employees and above. So it's we didn't mean to go into that space that quickly, but we managed to do it over a 9-month period.
Yeah, and with SaaS, that's a reason we're really excited at Arival about really jumping back headfirst into multi-day. Is with SaaS, the opportunities for operators is going to get so much better to have good technology without spending $1 million for their own proprietary platform and having legacy systems and all that. And you're at the forefront of getting that together. I'm sure there's others, at your coattails. And it's better. I mean, the more competitors, the better. That's the thing, right? Like, if there's 50,000 operators, you don't want to be the only SaaS player out there. You'd rather have some good competitors, so you're not the only one singing the tune, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, competition promotes innovation, right? Like we always want to keep improving to challenge your competitors, and that's advantageous for all the tour operators out there.
So let's go to the next step. If you're ResTech, we call it ResTech in our world. You call it ResTech in the multi-day world, or you call it something else?
Yeah, look, it's ResTech in a nutshell. We really focus on more operational infrastructure when we talk about it, because it's not just about booking and reservations. It's about their management of their staff, their vehicles, the complete sort of checklist and back-end operations. That is an immense amount of work and a lot of people, a lot of labor to manage that offline. So while there's always a core focus on booking and reservation, distribution, and channel management, we have really focused as well on parts of the back end operation. That's from my experience of running my own company as a tour operator, and also my experience with the TTC, G Adventures. When we work through them, the manual processes in the back end, even just to work out your profit and loss, even just to communicate with your suppliers, or even have portals for your passengers and your agents and all the rest of it. It's just some of those items are put onto the back shelf because it's not directly correlated to a growth aspect or a distribution aspect. However, it creates a significant cost savings and allows people to repurpose their staff into growing the business and scaling it, because that is the biggest restrictor of scale, is the operational bottlenecks. Yeah,
and definitely an important but not exclusive difference between multi-day and single day is that back office, right? Where single day operations are just a hell of a lot a multi-day operation looks like. So you put a lot of time and energy into the back office side, to almost operating more of a tech stack than just the front end. And then
exactly, yeah,
APIs for distribution, right?
Correct. Yeah. Like, I mean, a 7-day package might have between 15 to 20 different components or vendors or suppliers that the tour operator would use. Now, that could range from the transfer coach company, that could range from the accommodation, the restaurants they go to, the activities, the day tours, the helicopter ride that's on day 3. All of those components make up not only the costings, but the structure of it. And you need to make sure that that supplier has availability on that particular day at that particular time for it to be available to all the guests that are coming through on this organized tour.
And is there actual connectivity typically between the operator and all those suppliers? Let's say there's 4 hotels, 5-day trips, a few restaurants that are included in the itinerary. How's the connectivity work between the operator and the suppliers?
Technically, it's possible. Like, you can definitely connect in the APIs. It just depends on which aggregator you'd like to use to get all those activities. Generally, you're not directly connecting into one particular accommodation or one particular activity. However, what a lot of the multi-day tours prefer is that people might be booking this package 3 months before it departs, typically 3 to 4 months before it departs. So they need to ensure that that accommodation or that activity has the allocation or availability of 30 people, so that they do fill up the trip, they can be done. Now, no GDS or aggregator actually allows you to hold a activity or an accommodation room for that period of time. They might hold it for 48 hours, or, it's great for custom quoting, but not for something that you need to hold for 3 months.
You have a group block contract. I mean, if I'm one of the major guys, I'm, Intrepid or someone, and I know this is my itinerary during these 3 or 4 months of high season, and I block 30 rooms every week because that's, I'm sure, common in the industry.
And that's exactly what they do. So they will have a direct contract and relationship where they get a special rate for the accommodation prices or activities, and they lock in those 30 spots. So in answer to your question, the technical API integration is definitely possible, but a lot of the time they don't want that. They don't want to have a third party that they have to pay, and also that third party generally can't hold the room, for example, for a 3 to 6 month period. So they generally have direct contracts with their suppliers.
Okay, that's your point then. Okay, so it's an offline deal between the operator and the supplier. Let's call it the hotel, and let's talk then in a minute about that helicopter operator. That is done manually, contracted, and then the operator puts the pricing and inventory into their system as part of their tour, right? So that's
correct. Yeah.
Not the
that's correct. And
yeah,
we've sort of created in there. It's like a mini accommodation management system. It's a CRM for all of their suppliers. So you can do all your communication to your suppliers, your contracting. You can put all your dynamic rates in, room types, everything like that. So then it is all live and bookable, and all the allocations are allocated to the particular tour. So if you set up a new tour that departs on the 1st of August, it's going to pull all the rates in for all the accommodations, the activities that are relevant to that peak season or non-peak season. So it's all automated after that. But it seems a bit daunting to load up these contracts manually, but it really doesn't take that much time.
I've done it. Believe me, when I was in the ski business, we would spend the entire summer loading in all of our contracts. So totally know what you're talking about there, and it did not include in there, availability or inventory. It just depends how big the company is. So if it's a helicopter tour, or let's use a food tour as part of my great Tuscany trip, right? Food tours don't have 30 seats available typically, so they might need to go get extra space. But if a food tour gives me 30 seats 1 day a week for 3 months as part of this, that's just a manual deal. We set the price, and then I report back on my inventory at some contracted time. That would also be typical in a multi-day system. Yeah.
That's exactly right. Yeah. But at the same time, then that's you probably experienced that's a pain point. That's sort of the easy part of setting it up. But then you might have trigger events that 30 days out, you have to hand back whatever you haven't filled. It might be for the accommodation. So that's where we've focused on that automation as well, where it has triggering events that you can actually automatically hand it back. So you're not sort of trying to track every single departure. And when you have to hand back to what supplier, you can all set that up in the rules and the contracted procedures in the contract section of our supplier.
So I was expecting a group of 30 days out as my deadline with my suppliers. I've only got 15 bookings. I cancel 15 spots, and it goes to every supplier. Cancel, right? Reduce. Yeah. Right.
Reduce. Yeah. And then it can go on request. Doesn't mean you can't still take a booking. It just goes on request.
Yeah. Exactly. You've mentioned dynamic pricing a couple times, and that's certainly catching fire in the 1 day rate deal, the 1 day tour deals, especially big attractions. I mean, dynamic pricing is not quite, but we're trying to catch up in the industry to hotels and airlines who have been doing dynamic pricing for decades, airlines for 50 plus years, probably. But how does that work for a multi-day? Because so many multi-day operators set their pricing a year or more in advance because they're selling through the trade, and the trade really can't deal with prices that change up and down in a multi-day tour. But you said dynamic pricing a couple of times, so explain.
So we've put in dynamic pricing. It's not revolutionary because we just followed what the airline models did, like in terms of putting in the rules when people are buying. It's a slow adoption because our industry is so used to printing brochures, which is always prices from this, and it's all locked in. And the second thing is that not many people have an API or distribution through a bookable API. So if they did have dynamic pricing, that means they'd have to go and manually update all the travel agencies, all the OTAs that they've manually load their product into. So they've been a bit restricted from doing dynamic pricing. However, we've set it up there so you can actually, and it's all fed through the API as well. So you can actually have events where you go, okay, I've filled 20 spots out of the 25. I now want to put my dynamic pricing up by 20%. So I'll put the price of the tour up by 20% because it's filling up quick, it's in high demand. A lot of people would think of it we're not filling quick enough, so we want to reduce the price. So that's also possible. But this is where this enables them to do it. And when they do that, it automatically updates all of their connections through that one API because it's a single point of truth. So we're one of the first to enable that, for the multi-day tour space. But I have to admit, it's a big change management for some of the tour operators because that's, the fear is that people are going to talk to each other and find out the different pricing. And what's the problem with that?
Yeah, we're over that hurdle. My more important hurdle is that because so much multi-day is sold through the trade, and a lot of it was based on brochures, right? And probably is still based on brochures. If my clients are travel agents and I've told them you can come on this trip to Tuscany for $3,000, and that's what they're now pitching to their clients. And now because of dynamic pricing, that price is $3,500. How do they pull that off as a tour operator?
So through the API. So through the live connections. So it's
communication. It's just, this is our price today. It'll change based on when you book it, basically, which is change management, like you said, communication management. And you have some operators that have been successful with dynamic pricing.
Yes, some of our smaller operators have started using it and seen terrific yield. In fact, they've had a huge percentage yield on their packages because they've been able to sell it for a higher price or fill the rest of the seats on their coach through that. So, but as I said, it's been a slow adoption. Not most of our customers aren't using it just yet, but it is there as a feature once we get to that point.
We'll talk about dynamic pricing like 5 years from now or something. What about, so let's now go from ResTech, and you're not just ResTech, you're ResTech. First of all, are you enabling online booking on your operator clients' websites? Just people can come and book.
Correct. Yep.
So we give them widgets.
We give them. Yeah, exactly. So we have two options. One is that they can take the API and they can have their own developer design out their user experience, user interfaces, and their own booking journey. And that's powered by the API with all the details behind it. Or we have an off-the-shelf booking website that they can actually plug in, and they can plug it in at different stages. So they can use availability widgets, they can use search widgets, or they can have the full booking journey that would redirect from their customers, like when they're going through the different parts of the platform, hit the button to book, and then we would take them in for that.
Obviously, this next answer will depend on which client, and it varies. But in general, what percent of bookings are happening online, where clients coming in, reviewing, maybe they made one phone call or an email inquiry, but basically they click and book online?
That's an evolving percentage at the moment. So, and it depends on the company. So we've got companies that would have 90% direct customers. And before, obviously, if it's all inquiry only on the website, most of them were ringing up or sending emails to make that booking. It's seen roughly around your 30 to 40% increase in online bookings and new bookings once you have the bookability on your platform. So that's just completely changing. A lot of people, particularly, doesn't really matter about demographic, are looking to buy these packages online, and it doesn't seem to matter how much it is. Like we have terrific operators that sell for 10 or 15 grand a pop, and they have customers that are happy to spend that online.
You said, Murray, 30 to 40% increase, but I don't know if that means 30% increase over 1% or 30% increase over 20%. That's a big difference. So
so I'd say before a lot of the operators didn't have online bookability on their websites.
So they were at zero.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then not only have they seen, it's not just a replacement of the bookings that would have come through the reservation system now online. It's actually, when I'm saying 20, 30%, it's an increase in their bookings that they weren't receiving beforehand, but then now are through having bookability on their own website.
So that's huge. That's a significant number. If I'm selling 1,000 trips a year, zero online, you're saying I'm now selling 1,300 a year.
Mm-hmm. Correct. Yeah, on average, some companies are smaller, some companies have had a much bigger impact, but yeah.
That's huge. And those are now, talking about, depends on the company. That would be a company that's selling specific packages. So it's 7 nights, you're going here, you're staying there. That's a package.
Mhm.
What about on an FIT booking? Is that a whole, like, how does that look?
Yeah. So, and when you say FIT, just to clarify, we're talking about private custom itineraries for like a family that's
My
going to.
staff used to call it something else. It's called mostly groups. That was our
Yep.
big business, and our staff used to call it effing independent travelers.
Yeah.
I'll let you fill in the blanks, but yeah, totally. If someone
Yep.
calls, I want to go to Tuscany and I want to do this. You don't have a package for it, but your system sure can build FIT packages.
Absolutely. So yeah, so that we classify that as quotes and proposals, and as opposed to where a lot of systems would send it via PDFs now, we actually, when you do a quote and a proposal, it creates a full itinerary page that's unique to them, so they can actually go onto that page and interact with it, see the itinerary. Anything can be updated live if it's all connected through the API, and then they can go through the normal sort of booking process. So, and if some operators are keeping that on their platform, saying, "Hey, here's an example of what we've put together for previous customers."
Yeah.
And you can use this as inspiration. And someone comes on and says, "That's a fantastic Tuscany trip, but I don't have 7 days, I only have 5 days. Can you remodel this to include it in 5 days?"
So it's not a total online booking, right? It's an online assisted booking, basically.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So
You can still book it online. It's just, if you're custom creating it from scratch, then, you need to send that through to them as a proposal first, and then,
right. And then
that should
work
be
with the
online.
customer, and then gets it where they want, and then they can hit click to book, right?
Correct.
Yeah, got it.
There is a bit of a step further we've gone, and that's where you can have like a base model. Say it's the 7-day itinerary through Tuscany. So we've now got a booking journey that you can go, okay, here's the base model of the 7 days. And you could do a 3-day, you could do a 5-day, you could do a 7-day and have it online. But then once you get into the booking journey, it'll go, hey, would you like to book the 4-star hotel or the 5-star hotel? Okay, what room would you like? And then, great, you've selected that. So on day one, here's some options that you can choose from. Would you like to do the hot air balloon there? Would you like to do the cooking class, or would you like to do the 3-hour walking tour? Okay, and what time? Now, all of those options are the tour operator supplier. It's not just randomly connected in from anywhere else. It's controlled by them, but it allows customers or travel agents to personalize the trip, even though it's sort of still a set package, but they can personalize it based on those optional extras.
And this is all happening online,
Yep.
or is there an agent involved at that point?
Either or can be online.
Okay.
Yep.
Interesting. Yeah, back in the late 90s, as we were getting into online bookability for my ski travel company, Moguls Unlimited, we were pretty ahead of the game. We built a website in 1994. We were really into all this stuff. And my dream was co-browsing, for my res agents to be able to do co-browsing with customers to do exactly what you're talking about. I probably should have given you a heads up on this. And if I have to hit pause, I will. Can we co-browse for a minute and you can help me build a trip to Tuscany or wherever might be appropriate? Should I hit pause for a minute?
I should be able to whip this up pretty quickly. Let me just have a look. I'll share my screen. I'll do it for a Greece trip that I have.
Yeah, any trip you want, obviously, right? Yeah.
So this is just a demo of what you could do. So what you're looking at here is we create this for travel agencies or for tour operators' own personal websites. And I'll just use this product here. So I'll move this out of the way. So this could be, if this is an FIT, this could be a private quote. This was a genuine tour back in the day for a Greek business I was running. But this could actually be, forgetting the URL up the top here, this could be a quote that you send out and say, okay, look, it's from 3,200 or the total price for the family is £10,000 or whatever it may be. And you can put your imagery, you can put videos in, whichever you like. You can sort of put any sort of cap size on how many people.
Hold on. I want to change your language here, if we could, Mary. Don't tell me we could do this, we could do that. I'm coming to you as a customer. I want to book a trip to Greece. You're the agent. You said, okay, Bruce, let's start here. And now let's customize this together, right? That's the co-browsing aspect you're talking about, which I think is freaking awesome, right? So let's just do that. I'm the customer, you're the agent. Let's go.
Okay. So this is here you go, Bruce. This is an option. Pretend we've just had some 3-day, 5-day, 7-day. You said, look, I've got 7 days. This one looks quite good.
Yeah.
I'll be like, okay, so we've got a bit of an overall description of what this looks like. We have a base sort of itinerary as to what's happening on each day, but we can actually go through this now and we can sort of see where we're going as well, the interactive map, so you can select on what's happening on each day. But what we'll do is we'll just pretend there's one date here, and let's customize this trip for you, Bruce. Let's personalize it to suit your needs. Now, if I had some other accommodation options here, that would come up here. So we could say it's a double room, or you could have your, sea view room.
First of all, Mary, it's two adults.
Two adults,
one in there. Yep. So let's make that change. And can you get me, what would be a good third island that we could add?
So a good third island, we could add in Paros there, which I would actually do on the back end here. So this is where we would actually, this is all driven by the back end system that I'm just showing you here. So simultaneously, whilst someone's looking on the front end, I would be looking at this trip in the back end here. So I'd be managing this itinerary. So I've got my tour itinerary here, and I could actually edit this and add in a different day, particularly if it's a quote, which would project straight onto the front end. So this is sort of like your customer facing quote to the customer.
Yeah. So somewhere. So go ahead.
Yeah. So then and I probably have this all pre-set up beforehand, particularly if they've already told me, hey, we want to do this and we want to have this all different days. And this is sort of the final sort of iterations that we would have, because we could easily update that in the back end. But this is where you could go, I could ask you beforehand, Bruce, what would you like? Do you like drinking champagne? Do you like drinking this? Or would you like flowers? Do you like walking? Do you like adventure? And all those sort of answers, would then tailor some of the optional extras here. So we could actually go through this journey and say, look, we've put some suggestions in here for you. Would you like to have champagne and flowers on arrival? Sure, let's add that in.
No, I don't like champagne. Take it out.
Okay, no worries. So you may like dolphin and whale watching. And we go, okay, we can add that on there.
I don't want to do that. Take it out.
Okay, the helicopter ride?
Yeah, I want that for 2 people. Yeah, excellent.
Yep. And these are the 2 times that are available to you for the itinerary.
Yeah, let's go at 4 o'clock.
Yep.
Okay, fine.
Okay.
Snorkeling.
How do you feel about snorkeling?
Just one of us, because my wife doesn't love to snorkel. Spa, that's what she'll do while I'm snorkeling.
Okay.
Those are different days, so we need to change day 5 to day 4 for the spa treatment.
Yeah. So, and that's where we can go and see what the availability is for that spa treatment. So that's where I would go here to my optional extras. So here, and I would say, okay, on day 5, we can look at this spa treatment, but we're going to change this to your day 4. So we can manage these extras.
You're doing that now on the back end while you're talking to the client, basically.
Correct. Yeah, so they would still be looking at the front end of it, and I could then go here. So I think it was the spa that we're looking at. That's there, and I can see how this is on day 5. I could change that to day 4 or whatever it may be, and then refresh, and then it would update on your front end here. So that's where that would do it.
But the availability is not live. Your agent's going to have to contact for this.
No, not at all. So this is where this is spa is managed as a supplier in here. And so we would have certain allocations that would be.
Oh, okay. Now you have an allocation. Yep. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yep.
Okay. And then just say you do the a la carte at the end, then you can continue on. And then this is when it starts to put the customized sort of personalized experience there. Now, don't get me wrong, this is not going to work for all customers because this will itemize everything for us, that everything that you've selected that's there. It will automatically produce your documentation that will go out to the agent, and they can rebrand it, or it'll go straight to the customer if they're a direct customer. But this is just what we think is sort of the future step. People love doing their own research. They love making their own itineraries, and you could have a set multi-day tour.
No, I got it. But you can do it yourself, or you can co-browse with an agent like we just did. And then does this get saved as a URL, right?
Yep, correct. So this would be a unique, this is not a very sexy one, but this will be a unique URL that you could customize there.
That the customer can then come in and do, or the agent can come and do. And this is obviously all co-branded for your client, the tour operator.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. We can stop the demo. Thanks for playing along with me without any playing. That was great. Okay. So we're almost out of time here. What are the questions I didn't ask that are kind of in your mind every day about how you're innovating and what has to be innovated?
Yeah.
So multi-day can really move forward. And I'll just say the way Experiences has started moving forward. It's a $300 billion industry now. I don't know what multi-day is. There's a lot of numbers out there. We need to get that marketized.
Look, one of the biggest things that any tour operator, and I'm not being biased to any sort of technology, but what tour operators should be looking for in a system or must have in a system is API connectivity. So when I say that, I'm not talking about what we have one-way APIs and there's two-way APIs. And what you need to have is a two-way API. And for clarification with it, a one-way API might be an Excel spreadsheet that you have all your content, your availability and pricing that goes out, and a travel agent can copy and paste it into their system. Maybe you can connect it into a system so it displays and you can have all that sort of information on the platform or for someone else to sell or on your website. But what's essential is your two-way, because when a booking is made, it then gets put back into your system. The availability automatically gets updated saying one seat's been taken. All of your suppliers, those 15 suppliers, are getting booked simultaneously. And it automatically updates anyone else you're connected into. Say there's 10 different websites or OTAs, say there's 100 different travel agents, they're all automatically updated instead of you having to log into every system and update it. That is absolutely essential for growing your business, scaling your business. It's not, you don't necessarily have to have 100 distribution partners. You could have 5, but it's essential. Like a lot of these, so that's why you don't see many multi-day tours on your huge OTAs and the activities and experience space. You don't see it on Expedia. You don't see it on any of those sort of major platforms just yet. It's coming, but what they're looking for, those OTAs, is to have the product live and also bookable, because they don't have the travel agencies or the travel agents to be logging in or ringing up the tour operator saying, hey, can you book this for me, or is this available? So that's essential.
What percent? So now the API needs to be the reservation system, right? How many reservation systems are out there that are SaaS, or they don't have to be SaaS, but they're in the multi-day game that, are new tech, that aren't legacy tech, that aren't proprietary tech? Ballpark. I mean, is it 10? Is it 20? Is it 30?
Res tech systems now, where I would say, with not trying to discredit anyone out there or some new companies, would be below 5.
Okay, 5. And we're actually in the midst of a research project. We're going to have a directory of how many there are. I can't tell you what the number is either right now, but it's a couple months and we'll be able to tell you. So if there's 5, I assume they all have two-way APIs. No. How many of those 5 have two-way APIs?
None that we've seen.
None. Okay, I'm going to have to talk to some of those. Okay.
So there's a couple of other companies that are custom build solutions, like developed from the ground up, and they have APIs. Now, the reason why we know this is that we work with some of our competitors in the software space, because they come to us to get the distribution, the B2B distribution, to online travel agencies and travel agencies. So a lot of these travel agencies and online travel agencies don't even, let's just pretend everyone had a bookable API. They don't want to be connecting into 100 different APIs individually that are different standards and all the rest of it. So that they want an aggregate, as you've seen in the rest of the travel space. So we're one of the very, very few companies out there, maybe 2 of us out there, that are completely B2B and doing distribution, bookable inventory. So that's for multi-day tours, that is. That's where we know, where we've tried to work with some other partners, and
who can do an API or not. So you're basically acting as a channel manager as well, right?
Correct. Yeah. And so that's where we sort of go, like, we don't mind if some people are on with other companies, if they're using other softwares, as long as they have a bookable API, we can help them with that channel management. They don't have to be on our software to get that channel management.
And how many distributors are out there for multi-day that are taking, links from your channel management or others that might be out there doing channel management? In other words, more sophisticated distributors, whether they're tour operators, DMCs, travel agent consortiums, etc.
So how many tour products? We've got about 800.
No. How many companies that are distributors, whether they're OTAs, other tour operators, DMCs, travel agencies, that are distributing multi-day, and they are linking into APIs for their product?
Gotcha. So for us, we have about over 300 around the world. That is a mixture of travel agencies and online travel agencies. So we have several different products that we can offer to them. But as I said, there's not that many there's not that many B2B channel managers for multi-day tours out there. So they've never had the option. And that's where we can see a very big growth opportunity for the multi-day tour companies. But OTAs, they can either take an API and design it out themselves, or they can take the booking journey as well. For travel agents, we can actually provide them with an in-house agent portal. So similar to the agent portals they log into for each individual tour operator. So to save them from, they have a search and comparison tool on the one platform for all of their internal agents to be using, and then making the bookings within their own system that then connects into all of the different tour operators that they're booking. So these are sort of the products that are, we've just gone live with Donata, with Incredible Journeys in the UK, as well as Travel Bag, which has been a great success, and that is been a terrific internal portal for them to book their preferred suppliers or preferred tour operators.
Is Donata a distribution partner?
Yep. So Donata is what they're we distribute the products into them through one single API, and have built their internal system so that they can actually search, compare, book all of their different tours in there. Yep.
Cool. So it's Donata, Incredible Journeys. Who's the third one?
Travel Bag. So that's all under the Donata hood, which is Amherst Group in essence.
I missed the name. Travel Bag?
Travel Bag. Travel Bag. So that's
Donata.
That's part of Donata. They have about 4 or 5 stores around the UK and an online travel agency platform.
So building up distribution. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay.
I think that's key. I think one thing it's not the most exciting topic, but I think something that we really encourage people to focus on is the data protection and GDPR and PCI. We've had a few companies in the multi-day tour space over the last couple of years that have had breaches, and has cost them a bomb, and to no fault of their own, but it's one of those things like insurance, right? You don't know that you need it until something bad happens. And we really encourage people when they're looking at software that they can't be just sending their customer details by email to an accommodation, or a fax or whatever it may be. And unfortunately, there's no other option. So that's where, we think there should be a focus on not just focusing on the customer portals that they can log in and update their details, but also a supplier portal. So it's a secure area. They can log in, they can get all their manifests, they can get the rooming allocation, blah, blah, blah. And it's there's no leaks of, send your passport details through a WhatsApp chat.
Yeah, I was going to say passport information is, everyone wants that. As soon as you check in, what a pain in the ass, right? If that's part of what the operator already has secure, they take care of it. That makes a ton of sense. Okay, let's end up with a lightning round. So I'll ask a couple last questions. I want a snappy 1-sentence answer or so. I don't want to go 5 years out. So that's just, who knows, 3 years out. What's the status of multi-day tour tech? What's going to change?
You're going to see them on all of the major online travel agencies. You're going to see a lot quicker turnaround for private quotes, groups, more sophisticated and better user experience. I think you'll see a big change in the booking experience online, and that a lot more people will be transacting online and personalizing their trips online.
So you're bullish on, obviously, you own a company that does it, on multi-day tech. What destinations do you see are going to jump in first of really taking advantage of that bullish aspect of travel tech? Like, where do you see pockets of tour operators are going and bringing customers in, and the tech enablement is really helping that a lot?
So we certainly see it in the multi-day land touring. But do you mean like geography? Like what countries are we seeing? Okay. The US is really picking up for us. We're seeing quite an adoption. And once you sort of start to see a couple of US-based operators adopting technology, it has created a flow on for a lot of other companies. New Zealand's actually been very innovative and very forward-thinking. We've got a lot of clients, like earlier clients that came on very early in the piece with it. UK and Europe have been more on the sort of travel agency side of things, and onboarding more of the local DMCs. You know, people looking for that unique content, that more in-destinational experience. So that's where we've sort of seen those markets, but the emerging markets, I believe, is more in your South America market, your Asian markets, that they're ones that can really quickly transform their businesses from being offline completely to having a digital presence around the world.
So if you were going to be a digital nomad for the next year with the goal of bringing in a lot more market share, is the number one goal, but also a place you want to chill, you want to hang out, where would that be?
Well, your villa in Tuscany, you know, maybe we need to co-invest in that villa in Tuscany. Could be quite nice.
But, there's not a lot of, that's not going to be your number one spot for new business.
No. Look, the US has been quite a, you know, we're getting quite a bit of interest from the US and quite a lot of referrals in the US market. I've got a bit of a base in Singapore as well. So Singapore, we're finding, has been a central hub. It's a very big business hub, and a lot of countries around there are leveraging off technology that is coming out of Singapore as well. So that's an area that I think would be quite advantageous to be in as well.
Yeah, Singapore's got, I mean, it is a tech hub. In our world, there's a lot going on in Singapore. If it was US, what city would it be?
Oh, what city? Like I loved when I was in Austin at one stage, in Austin, Texas, but I don't know if that has the biggest opportunity. But we are getting quite a bit of interest from tourism boards in the US market, you know, about displaying their local packages. Obviously, there is a huge opportunity on the LA to the Grand Canyon, those sort of packages, because it's like you can put that together, and a lot of hiking trips as well. We've got some terrific companies under that we work with, like Active Adventures and Austin Adventures, and they have some fantastic products that are out there that we love, and we're seeing it being a bit more focused on the active nature of it. You know, there's a purpose behind it. You know, it's not, it's a purpose that you're
authentic outdoor experiences. Yes.
Correct. Yeah.
All right, Mary. Well, listen, thanks for the time and for giving us this information. And, you know, you're on the cusp of something that's blowing up. You know, we can feel it. That's why at Arival, we're really going to focus on it a lot more at our conference in DC and with the research we're doing, and, you know, working with partners like Tour Amigo and others. We're excited about the space. We're as bullish as you are. So thanks for joining us here on Experience This. Christian and Lori will be bumming that they didn't get to participate, but we'll bring you back for sure. So thanks a lot.
Sounds great. Thank you very much for having me.
All right. Take care.